Today I'm going to share with you a few quick tips for working with faux leather, real leather, and vinyl. First up is the cutting. You want sharp scissors and a sharp rotary cutter. So if you've never replaced the blade on your rotary, this would be a good time to do it. Otherwise, just cut slowly and carefully in long, smooth motions. This will prevent a choppy looking edge. The main problem with these kinds of fabrics is that the smooth surface of the material tends to sort of stick to the presser foot instead of gliding like a more traditional fabric. Luckily, there are a few workarounds. The most effective are going to be specialty feet. Your options are a walking foot, which feeds the leather through the machine along with the feed dogs, so it doesn't jam up. There's also a Teflon foot, which is usually a plastic foot with a layer of Teflon on the bottom, the same stuff they use on frying pans to make them non-stick. It does the same thing here, it prevents the foot from sticking to the leather. Lastly, there is a roller foot. It has little wheels on it that roll right over the sticky fabric. It's like a roller skate for your sewing machine. I went into this project thinking I was going to buy a walking foot. I've never used one, and I figured it was time to try one out because everyone seems to love them. But they're like $26. Highway robbery. Meanwhile, the Teflon foot and the roller foot were under $10. I've had a Teflon foot before, and to be honest, I wasn't totally in love with it. I felt like it didn't glide as much as I wanted it to. So hello, roller foot. Isn't it cute? And it works, amazingly. The only drawback I can see is that you really need to sew about a 1/4 inch from the edge, or the wheels on one side aren't on the leather and the fabric doesn't feed right. That's fine in most applications, but it would be nice to be able to top stitch a little bit closer to the edge. What to do if you can't find, don't want, or can't wait for a specialty foot? There are a few options. The first is matte tape. Regular old Scotch tape, remember I said matte, you don't want the shiny stuff. Toss a layer of this onto the bottom of your regular presser foot. Don't worry, it won't hurt the foot at all. Another option is a layer of tissue paper between the foot and the leather. When you're finished, you just rip it off. I prefer this method to the tape. I think it works better. However, if you need to do top stitching on a piece of leather that isn't a straight line, which is something we'll counter with the bag I'm going to show you, this is not really ideal because you can't see the edge through the tissue paper. I've also heard tell of people buying Teflon tape and applying that to their regular presser foot for a DIY version of the Teflon foot. So if you got some Teflon tape lying around, give it a whirl and let me know how it goes. Other tips for sewing leather and leather-like materials. Get ye a specialty needle. A leather needle will suffice. These are generally heavier needles and they have a sharp cutting point specifically made for slicing through the material. Once we get to the sewing, use a long stitch length, longer than you'd use for standard fabric. And don't backstitch. We want to avoid putting an excessive number of holes in our lovely leather or faux leather. So instead of backstitching, leave long thread tails and tie off the ends using a surgeon's knot, which is like the regular square knot everyone knows, except you loop it twice. Here, I'll show you. You loop once, and then just throw the end right back in there. Tighten it up. Once you've knotted the threads a few times, use a big fat needle and tuck the tails into the seam. Voila. So remember I said we don't want excessive holes in our leather? That means pins are out. Clips are in. I've got a set of these Wonder clips, and they are quite helpful for a lot of things. But if you don't have any Wonder clips, check your desk for a few of these bad boys. That's right, binder clips work just as well, and you've probably got a couple lying around already. You could also use clothespins or tape. I'd recommend masking tape because it shouldn't leave behind any sticky residue. If you're using vinyl or faux leather, it often has a backing that doesn't quite match the front. As you can see, mine has a bright white back, which shows through in some cases on the sides and stuff. It's not that attractive. So I just grab a Sharpie in a similar color, I mean it doesn't even match that well, and color it in. And no one will ever know. Except you. But you're sworn to silence. That is the craft code after all. That's it. Do you have any tips for working with these tricky materials? If so, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and for more tips, tricks, and kick-ass sewing patterns, visit whatthecraft.com.